6 minutes late. Curtis just realized something, and he's gonna tell it to me. What?
It's too late.
It's not too late.
It's too late. I want to play the sound here. Okay.
Oh, okay. You were gonna ask me if it was okay. I don't really care.
No, I wasn't gonna ask you that.
I'm not.
We were having a conversation before this, and I wanted to. We were talking, and then I remembered something. Okay, guys.
Oh yes, this is the sound of the. Dude, this is creepy. Imagine if those were the last words you heard. I am really hoping
Okay, guys.
that
So that was the noise
enough people left.
that people heard
That's how I
prior to a large explosion that took place Saturday morning in Nashville.
6:30 a.m. on Christmas morning.
Now, I'm sure Jordan's done some research on this topic.
I've done a little.
I've done a decent amount. I've done a decent amount on this, and I wanted to everybody that kind of, sometimes people come to us for updates on the news and different world events and sort of hot topics, but I wanted to kind of lay down some details about this event.
This is explosive news, guys.
This is explosive news, unfortunately. But the morning after Christmas, I guess, right? The Saturday morning, right?
Christmas Abel.
There was a 911 call that went out, and there was a report that gunshots had been fired in the area.
This was a day after?
I believe it was Saturday morning. So Christmas was Friday, right?
After the explosion.
No. This is before the explosion.
Oh, Christmas morning was the explosion, 6:30 a.m.
Oh, okay. So it was Friday morning then.
Right.
Okay.
On Christmas Day.
So that morning, police respond to a 911 call of gunshots being fired.
Which is weird.
Which is strange.
This part I haven't looked into.
So
I'm
the
excited.
police come and they look around the area. They don't see any reason for like any type of like active shooter taking place.
Right.
But then as the police are showing up there and they start to kind of leave, they start kind of dispersing, this RV starts emitting that sound that we just played for you guys. It was a loop recording of a woman saying, "Evacuate the area immediately."
It wasn't a loop because it counted down. It said started out at 15 minutes and at 14.
Well, but
and
it
13.
kept saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It kept saying the same thing, saying, "Evacuate the area now." The area is, their explosion is imminent or something like that.
Yeah. And then, like, the last one was the most creepy. It was like, if you can hear this, evacuate now. Boom.
So the police, several of the sergeants or whomever it was that responded to it, they said, like, when you work on this type of job, you get these situations where you're like something just feels really off, and you get like the hair raising on the back of your neck. Like this could have been just like,
well, the
a
sound
prank.
you played was a video, and I watched it. I did watch that video, and it's creepy. I mean, it looks like there's nothing going on. It's like a dead
it's just
city.
A chill it's early morning.
Yeah.
So the police are like, okay, now we're getting some hairy raising situation here. So they started running.
Spider senses.
Spider senses.
Spider senses.
My spidey senses are tingling.
My Peter tingle.
That's
what he calls it on the new movie. He calls it his Peter tingle. I know.
So the police start running to the doors surrounding that are close to this RV, and they see on the RV that there's cameras on the RV surrounding it, like attached to it. So the police officers start running around, knocking on doors, evacuating individuals, and by the grace of God, when this RV went off, although the police and the individuals surrounding in the closest proximity to the RV had actually left and they were safe, only 3 people got taken to the hospital, right? We've seen these reports, multiple other people were injured, buildings were damaged. But as far as they know right now, only 1 person died in this accident, in this incident.
The guy in it.
Which was the individual in it.
Which they identified him today.
Which they did identify him by a couple different methods. By DNA remains.
DNA, yeah.
DNA remains. But then also they were able to piece together enough parts of the VIN of the vehicle. I guess somehow they found the make and the ownership of the vehicle. Now, getting to the, I guess you would say, ancillary components of this tragedy.
It's a 6-letter word.
Let's talk now about, it's easy to speculate this early on, right? Easy to speculate. However, there are some unique circumstances
why is that playing?
in association with this explosion. So, as far as we know about this individual, I think he was 62. Was it right? 62 or 65?
Somewhere in there. He's in his 60s.
He had no known political connections. He had no known large kind of social media presence. He was a pretty seemed like just normal, go about your business individual. He did have a little bit of dealings, they were saying, with technology in the technology world. And his job, I guess, had to do, I don't think it was IT specifically, but he had something to do with some type of, not construction, but soft construction stuff.
Right.
So interestingly, though, the big dramas surrounding this, and I'm not trying to...
I was trying to bring
anybody out here.
It didn't work out.
But he was parked right next to an AT&T, not actually data hub. It was not a data hub, but it was an AT&T
FirstNet
network hub.
Yes, for FirstNet.
For FirstNet, which they've said and they've speculated was connected to SolarWinds.
Well, there's two different things there because it was 40 buildings.
Let's go into this.
It was 40 buildings that were taken out. One of them was this AT, and this is all alleged.
Early on, we're speculating, but it's just a peculiar.
So the AT&T FirstNet, if people don't know what that is, it is a network of people who are on. You have to specific plan that you're on. So if something big happens, the network will give your phone priority. So if you're a first responder, and the towers have congestion, mine won't work, but yours will. That's what this was. This is one of the main hubs for that. I think there's 7 throughout the United States, 7 or 9. I can't remember. But it knocked that out. And then it's also alleged, and this is the one that I haven't followed up a ton on. The AT&T one, we're pretty sure that was what was there. But the other one was the SolarWinds, which if you guys remember, we were talking about the SolarWinds hack that allowed some people into our government and some other agencies. There was some main servers that were there
There were some servers for SolarWinds, but what maybe even disregarding the SolarWinds connection,
the AT&T one's a big deal.
The AT&T one is a really big deal because even to this point, there's still areas where people don't have cell service in that area.
If you're on AT&T.
If you're on AT&T, exactly. And they were saying
that... Which if you guys don't know the South, and I do, and maybe it's been different since I lived there, but I had horrible coverage with Verizon.
Which is crazy.
The main service that worked was either AT&T at the time. It was Singular. It worked a ton better, at least in the spots.
Whereas Verizon kind of dominates out here.
Well, you know why that is?
It's just like they're better people.
It's a quick lesson in how radios work, but the technology that Verizon uses goes better over hills, and we are more mountainous over here.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyhow, they were saying between 7 to 8 states that were affected by this. Different servers, different communication systems brought down.
Yeah.
So they were saying that there was speculation early on, right, guys? We're not saying this is absolute, but there was speculation rolling around that we've just recently found out about this large Russian hack, right? We found about this large Russian hack that affected the Treasury Department, affected multiple different systems in different areas.
And Dominion voting systems.
And perhaps Dominion voting systems.
They use SolarWinds.
They use SolarWinds, but that doesn't mean for sure that Russia was involved in it.
No. The thing that people are getting confused right now, and I've actually been texted this a few times from different people, and I understand the confusion. It's totally fine. I'm not harping on anyone. It's that some people have heard that Dominion had servers there. That I have not heard.
Yeah, I have not heard that.
Dominion does use SolarWinds. Yes, YouTube, I know that they said in their testimony with the Senate hearing in Michigan that they did not. They are lying. It's on their website. You can go find it in the code.
But what I'm saying is there has not been a direct connection between Russia using SolarWinds to use Dominion.
No.
Okay. So
that we know of.
Right, that we know of.
It would work.
Anyhow, SolarWinds there was speculation that Russia used SolarWinds to infiltrate part of the US government. And that's been proven actually. They have.
Well, at least there's some IP addresses from Russia that use SolarWinds.
So
or connected to SolarWinds.
The issue is that they're saying that perhaps this was, even though it was a not a data hub, but a hub for networking hub.
Yeah.
Maybe there was actually some type of data hub taking place in that facility that they needed to eliminate the proof of Russian infiltration through that hub. And so they are saying, is there a connection to that actual facility being exploded like that?
That's the thing is, like, I've thought about that. I'm like,
it's a stretch, but it seems peculiar.
If you kept all that stuff in one spot, you're not a very good company. I mean, their main headquarters was in Houston or somewhere in Texas, and there
has to be some place
there was already government agents that were there.
But actually,
I'm saying it would be redundant. Like, you wouldn't. So it's like,
would it make more sense to put it in a place where it's not your main area, like an obscure, smaller location?
Yes, but that would be like a backup, is what I'm saying. So like one would be like you don't, when you upload a picture to iCloud, it's not just stored in one spot. There's redundant backups of that in case one goes down. Right. There is another one.
But isn't that also potentially more incriminating? Whereas if you just have a single one, there's less risk of that being information spread.
Yeah, but also you got to think they're a company too. That portion of it, I think, if I were to speculate, I would say, number one, the statements that they've said from this guy were a little bit off, and maybe he was off too. But he apparently they don't know what the motive is yet, but they said that from things that they've heard about him, which he's not really on social media or anything, is that he was of the impression that 5G was being created to spy on us and all that kind of stuff, and so he had a personal vendetta against AT&T.
I didn't hear the 5G,
which is
connection.
Weird because AT&T hasn't put in as much 5G as like say it's like T-Mobile has and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of strange. It's the middle top one.
They also did a interesting commentary about the RV where for several minutes in between this countdown time, it was playing the song Downtown. Downtown.
That's so weird. The whole thing is just strange. If I were to speculate, I would say,
guys, as Pat
I would say it's either. I mean, you'd have to like really dig deep. You could say it's, somebody trying to cover it up. You could also say that it's someone on the right that is trying to make it look like they're trying to destroy stuff. You could also make the speculation that it is someone from you did it. Now you've done it. You got it back. Okay. That someone from either Dominion or whoever this like group of people that wants things to be hidden, wants to make it look like somebody that's a Trump supporter is a fanatic and blew something up.
Yeah.
And point it towards
There's
them.
a lot of speculation.
Like, there's so many things that you could.
But one thing that
you can make up anything you want. It just, I guess that's all the things that go through my head, or all those things are like a thing that could happen.
One thing that I would say is cool that I do like is that, or I don't know if I should say cool. I guess a silver lining is it seems like whoever purposefully wanted to cause this explosion also did not want to cause mass casualties because the message was specifically telling people get away from here. I would say that,
and that's a little bit weird. So that to me points to somebody wanting to take out something without taking out people. Like they cared about people, but they wanted to. And then at the same time, it's like, why did he stay there?
Well, but okay, here's the bigger question. Anybody out there that's watching this right now, go ahead and answer this if you have an answer for it. Why didn't the police see him in the van?
Well, there's pictures of. Oh yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, why didn't the police, if they have this mysterious van and they had enough time to go around to all the buildings and evacuate individuals, you would have wondered if the police would have seen this individual in the van and would have tried to arrest them.
Maybe, or they were not getting close enough to it. They didn't have a bomb squad in time because when they heard it, the countdown, the video countdowns that we have, that as far up as they go is 15 minutes, so it's not a lot of time. Yeah. But today there was another suspected motorhome in Tennessee that they dispatched a bomb robot on. I haven't heard anything back from it or anything, but they closed down a whole highway because another one that looks similar to this one was out there.
Pretty soon, motorhomes are going to be like one of those things where you're not allowed to park on.
It's like someone buying a white Bronco.
Anywhere but a KOA.
Still, people see a white Bronco and they go, "Hey, it's OJ. He's trying to get away from the police again."
Or van, tinted vans.
Well, yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, like, they don't like tie it to something. Like the tinted vans is just like, that's a weirdo. But like this is like, oh, you have a creepy motorhome. Apparently, you're gonna go bomb an AT&T building or something. It just, I don't get it. It's just another one of those things in 2020 that makes you go, what the heck is happening? Like, what is going on with this world?
I don't know, man. That was a bummer one that I.
Yeah. It's like this. So another thing that's happened this week is this stimulus bill.
Yes.
So it's got a bunch of fat in it. Money that goes to other countries.
Yeah.
And then
it's a juicy one.
$600 to each person. Was it $1,200 a piece that everyone got back in the beginning of all this?
Right. And then dependents got
Trump has said, like, no, we need to send $2,000 to every member and cut the fat, which I agree with. Like, I mean, why are we trying to fund all this other stuff and send a bunch of stuff to other countries? I mean, a small percentage is going to the people and none of it's really going to small businesses.
Yeah.
Why? Like, I don't.
Did I show you I had a handout, or not a handout, but I had a.
You got a handout from Trump?
Yeah, me and Trump have been talking lately. But I had a link specifically, and you can look it up really easily as far as the allocation to the specific locations.
It was like 750 billion.
And even though it's a $900 billion stimulus package, it was within.
It was like 200 billion goes to the people, 700 or something goes to.
No, it was the majority of it did actually go to.
No.
Yeah, it did. If you look at the distribution, yeah, I look. You're acting like no. Look it up. Look it up right now. Look it up. Look up for diagram of stimulus bill distribution.
Okay. You keep talking.
But the interesting thing was, I get like some of the things needing funding. Like I get where senators are like, okay, this is my chance where I can get funding for, the Asian carp in Florida. Like, yeah, I know. I've watched many documentaries. I'm sure you've watched documentaries on it too. The Asian carp in Florida. It's wild right now. Like, they're taking over. But
why does that need to be in a COVID relief bill?
But the need to add $200 million to Asian carp battle during a pandemic, is not necessarily the appropriate time to add that that stimulus in there. And there's multiple situations and multiple countless, or not countless, but multiple cases where we're doing funding to different countries where, again, senators are seeing this as an opportunity to pass a bill that or pass funding where either a lobbyist or a company or a smaller, maybe even someone within another country that they have communication with is, trying to get that funding. So the priorities, unfortunately, are not completely healthy there. But I did have commentary about this stimulus package
is this
today.
The CARES Act? Is that what it is?
Yeah. I did have really interesting commentary. So it passed tonight. Trump signed it.
Kind of.
Trump signs the coronavirus relief and government funding bill into law after a lengthy delay. So he did that today. But what I thought was kind of interesting, essentially it was he signed into the bill, but there weren't any changes to what he had previously.
There was, though.
Advised.
That's
like to the amount that individuals get.
Right, but did you see what he did?
Let me see. There was some change, but not to changes to the amount the individual gets, like he had recommended.
He used an act when he did this that basically held over some of the things that he disagreed with. And what that was it was called... Hang on. I'm pulling it up right now. It's called the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974. So essentially what happened was is that President Trump just invoked the Impound Control Act of 1974 while signing the COVID bill, allowing him to redline areas that must be addressed. This sends it back to Congress, forcing them to 1. Repeal 230, 2. Cut out the wasteful spending, and 3. Add $2,000 checks to everyone. This is virtually unknown law that has taken Congress by surprise, and it also signals his intent to invoke other laws in the coming weeks. So Essentially, so I went and looked at this law.
Yeah. So that law specifically says $2,000 to every individual?
He said he's able to redline areas that need to be addressed and voted upon by Congress.
Right.
So he signs it, but then says, but you have to correct these areas, and they're held for 45 days. So he can hold them for 45 days. It's kind of like a line item veto, but it's not.
Right.
And it's so the Senate will start the process that increases the checks to $2,000, repeals Section 230, and starts an investigation into voter fraud per President Trump's red lines under the Impound Control Act of 1974, which Nixon was the one that created. So the Democrats and the Rhino Republicans are the ones that are basically Democrats, are not super happy. But what this has also done is something interesting. He and Pelosi are now basically fighting on the same team.
Right. Yes, I've seen this. This is really interesting.
She has made a statement, and I'll pull that up here.
Which is ironic.
It's super weird
for these two opposing.
Yes. So
historically,
Pelosi says
figures.
The president must immediately call on congressional Republicans to end their obstruction and to join him and Democrats in support of our standalone legislation to increase direct payment checks to $2,000, which will be brought to the floor tomorrow. So, if you're a Trump supporter or just a Trump, that's so hard because I support a lot of the ideals that Trump has, but I understand that he's just a dude, and
he's a dude. She's a dude.
Yeah,
we're all dudes.
So he has some ideals that I agree with, and he sometimes does them in ways that I don't always like the way he sounds or whatever. But if you're in a conservative camp, this actually is a really good thing in a sense, because what he's doing is he's calling out those who say they're conservatives with a Democrat. And it's very interesting. It's a very strange ploy, and it looks like in the fog of all of this crazy election stuff going on, like he is basically stirring the pot and putting people against each other that have kind of been trying to work with each other. It's really weird because Pelosi has been okay with some of these Republicans, but now that Trump has pointed out, hey, these are the things that we need to fix. We could do this really quick if you'll vote on this. And Pelosi's like, yeah, let's do it. It's just weird.
Well, this is what I think is happening here. There's a lot of special interests on this bill, right? Yes. And there's many individuals within either party. I mean, we don't know specifically which party proposed Nigeria, relief.
No.
And which sides.
If people are hearing me say I'm against the Democrats in this, I think both sides are very much at fault.
Both sides, I think, have added probably
too much,
copious amount of money that should not have been spent on completely unrelated subjects.
Right. But if we back up for a second, $1 that goes to somewhere that doesn't have to do with relief for people who are suffering because of all these lockdowns and everything is too much.
Yeah. It's
that's where I'm at.
It's just not appropriate for the situation.
No.
So what I think could be happening though is Trump sees this, and I think Pelosi, being a leader in her party,
she wants to look good because she's got a vote.
She wants to look good.
She's got a vote. She's got a little election coming up.
But I think probably what's happened is that she has not had as much influence and need to have that excess money to those other countries. And so he's seen that, she's not been fighting for that extra money to go to those extra other countries.
Right.
So if I ally with her in this situation, we will have twice the power and potentially not use this money. I mean, frivolously is not the best word, but in an inappropriate time.
It's an insane number.
In an inappropriate time.
I don't understand it. I don't think people understand it. I mean, maybe they do. I just think it's crazy that the people that we have elected are dealing with this amount of money.
My gosh. Well, okay. So what's really hard for me, our camera guy, sorry, it's just going crazy.
Yeah. This little box cutting out. I did finally get the return thing to ship this back, so I'm going to ship it back.
Okay, first I'm going to just do a little commentary.
I was shaking it in the middle. Did you see?
Oh, I just wanted to give a shout out.
Yeah.
I got a super cool globe from Chris Unruh. I want to say thank you so much. It's a Mars globe.
Oh, is that who did this?
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's a Mars globe, and it looks like these astronauts on Mars, and when you shake it around, it looks like a sandstorm going on.
That's
so
amazing.
It's pretty dope.
Speaking of Mars, have you caught up on the old Expanse?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Guys, if you don't
Ladies
watch The
and gentlemen,
Expanse, you should. It's
We're
probably
about
not,
to rock your world.
probably not with your kids. You know.
Depending on their age, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like some floating sensuality.
So, Expanse. First season, guys. It's going to be a little bit rough. The first season is not the most captivating because they're finding their ground. You know, they're
well, they
finding
didn't have
their
as much
feeding.
funding either then.
They didn't have as yeah, I don't know if they had as much funding or not.
Didn't they get
It
bought out?
started out on Sci-Fi.
So first off, it's on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime now. Started off on Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi usually has a little bit of a low budget, right?
Super low budget.
So
like,
they're
like, this is probably not going to work.
They decided, you know what, we're not going to renew the season. Amazon, God bless their soul, said this is a really good show. They decided to purchase it and start producing it.
Right.
So anyways, it's an episode that takes place, or it's a show that takes place where individuals live on, we've colonized Mars, but we've also then colonized the outer belt. So I think it's dealing with the actual, what's the rock belt in space called?
Kuiper Belt?
The Kuiper Belt? Is that where they are? The Belters?
I think so.
The outer planets. I know that's the outer
I'm
planets.
not really super familiar with my belts.
Yeah, I've got just usually leather belts, but
Yeah.
it deals with the outer planets. So you got people living on Earth, Mars, and the outer planets, and they're kind of battling. And they're battling for resources, but then they're also kind of figuring out geopolitical kind of stuff.
It's like Mars like colonized and then seceded.
Right. And then they add really, fun kind of alien situations and
I like when they
twists.
do like the history lessons. They're like when they do the history of like how their drives work and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like how it's made, but in a show. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. So anybody out there, if you're looking for something good to veg, I would recommend The Expanse.
Anyway, it's coming out right now. It's
Season 4.
5 episodes in.
Season 4. We're
I think it's the 5th episode just dropped on Tuesday. Something like that.
Yeah, we're 4 or 5.
I was excited because I didn't think it was going to come out until after Christmas, the next episode, but it did. It totally came out like 2 days before.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah, really good. So
My
anyways.
dad texted me to remind me.
Oh yeah, is your dad watching it?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
He watched it
good
before
for him.
I did. Yeah.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm.
He watched it before you did?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
It's
I'm
good.
Impressed.
It's super
I'm
good.
impressed.
And
Anyways,
this
so
season so far has been like,
dude, it's been nail biter. For anybody out there that's also kind of a sci-fi Trekkie, kind of situation, which I've dabbled in, you might say.
just a little.
Just a little bit. The Star Trek Discovery that's out right now, Star Trek Discovery, is incredibly delightful. The cinematography is fantastic. The storyline is wild.
Is that where the Picard Worfness?
No, it's not Picard. It's not Picard. There's a Picard. There is a Picard.
I was trying to
series,
say
though.
a lot of Star Trek words there, and it just didn't happen.
No.
But
you can't throw off a Trekkie.
Picard Worf Ferengi.
Borg?
You
Something?
know, you would be interested in
Q?
this. I went to a restaurant in Vegas. It's no longer there, and it was called Quark's Bar and Grill, and it was amazing.
Whoa. Okay. Anybody out there that's listening? Okay. Does anybody know what the name of the TV series Quark was from? Which
I do.
Which Star Trek, which Star Trek TV series was Quark off of? And I'm going to give you guys,
wait.
Well, if anybody is typing right now.
Am I not able to answer?
Yeah, you can go.
No, because then they'll, yeah.
No, it's okay.
No one's going to type.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, what is it off of?
Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine. It was, and unfortunately, probably my least favorite.
Were you impressed with that?
I was, but I'm not sure how you know that.
I've watched some Star Trek in my life.
You haven't watched Deep Space Nine.
I've watched most of Deep Space Nine and definitely all of the Next Generation, at least one time through.
Yeah.
And the originals.
Did you watch Voyager? Janeway?
Just some of them.
Okay.
I wasn't as big a fan of Voyager.
You like Deep Space Nine more though, huh?
Do it. It was more so just like the funny people that were in it because it was more about the bar and.
I would not have guessed that you would have watched Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
It doesn't have as much. I don't feel like.
It's more
engaging.
drama.
Yeah, it's more drama, not as much action. I feel like.
Yeah, for
Anyhow,
sure. But that's the roots of Star Trek though. Is more about that. It was about their relationships.
Ish. I mean, the original
was a political sci-fi.
Star Trek with Captain
Kirk. Yeah,
definitely had social.
Yeah, it was more. As I was saying, it was like a political sci-fi.
But it was also a pretty action-packed for the time.
Kinda. I mean, if you go back and watch it, it's just like.
Well, now.
Yeah,
obviously.
I know. Yeah, I don't know.
So anybody, go watch some Star Trek Discovery or Expanse if you're looking for something fun to watch. It's delightful. Dude, okay, another thing I wanted to hit on, topic I wanted to hit on this week. I just wanted to make a comment because it affects me directly. I don't know if anybody's been hearing about the Department of Justice that's been going after Walmart lately. And this is, I guess, a comment I want to make about...
what is it about specifically?
Okay,
what are they going after them for?
The Department of Justice is suing Walmart over the opiate crisis right now.
Go for it.
So
don't like Walmart, don't like opiates. May as well group them together.
Lawsuit is saying that administration within Walmart, whomever that may be, has been...
Let's just say Jeff Bezos.
Let's say, well...
yeah, I'm just kidding.
Whoever they are, they live in Arkansas. We know that.
Yeah.
So they basically, the lawsuit is proposing that Walmart has not been monitoring fraudulent orders and inappropriate orders for opiates, and that Walmart has been pressuring its pharmacists to dispense inappropriate orders of opiates because Walmart gets, it's basically like, Walmart makes money whenever a prescription is sold. They get a cut of the prescription. So, and I haven't been able to see specifically if it's been pharmacists that have been reaching out to the Department of Justice or to the DEA or whomever within Walmart.
Whistleblowers.
But this is a trend, I guess I would say, I've seen within healthcare systems and within pharmacies run by larger organizations.
Right.
When administration is making decisions for providers that dictate how they should practice. And it's really dangerous, man.
I would say
and it's unfortunate.
Would you say that it's very, very similar to lawmakers making laws based on health things?
That one is a little bit different because laws have hopefully requirements of some type of review or peer review from a large group of body of individuals.
I would hope it's a large body, but it doesn't. It doesn't feel like that sometimes.
Right.
I'm not going to say it is or isn't. I'm just going to say it doesn't feel like that, especially in our current state.
But when it's a profit-driven organization, trying to make decisions based on profit for healthcare individual and healthcare decisions, which is a trend that's taking off and has been taking off for the past 20 years.
Right.
I have so much pause and so much trepidation with this, and I see these articles and I see this type of thing, and we've strayed away, I think, a lot from evidence-based practice over making people happy.
Yeah.
Because it's not only I think what also was happening in those Walmart situations is people were complaining, hey, I went in there, that pharmacist was an asshole, he didn't give me the prescription that I wanted. And so Walmart was saying, also, not only we want to be making money off this, but we need to be giving these people what they want. And that is not only a trend in pharmacies, but a trend in hospitals, but a trend in clinics, trend in, all these different areas where it's like, you're not necessarily doing...
It's a trend in society.
It's a trend in society, exactly. We're not doing necessarily what's best for somebody, but we're doing what makes them happy
quieter.
And what makes them quieter.
Yeah.
And then we send them a review and say, hey, are you happy with what we did for you?
Yeah.
And then if they say no, then the person that was supposed to be doing what's best for them gets punished.
That's I don't
that
have
was
any
a little
nice things to say
that
about
was a little soapbox.
I totally
saw
get
that
that.
article and I was just like,
but I think a lot of that
shame on corporations.
They need to also go after
for running Walmart.
the whole drug industry essentially, because the way that it's set up, and if you want to go back to like things that Trump has signed that I would agree with, was this whole remove the middlemen from drug companies, because it pushes the cost savings out to the people, which takes away the profit from the drug companies, which means that these people in the middle aren't pushing people to make these sales like is being complained of Walmart. Mm-hmm. So if you take that out and now the drug prices go down, it becomes less of a for-profit thing. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm totally not on board with all the people saying that we shouldn't have free markets, that capitalism doesn't work and all that. I think that's BS. I think that's the rich people really trying to convince you that they need to be richer and you need to be poor. And that's just my opinion. But when we create this system where they are like, there's so much clout and so much like stacked up in the middle of people just taking their piece of the pie. It's like we talked about the bill in the beginning, like everyone trying to get their piece of the pie out of that.
Yeah.
And it just becomes this pork, like they're calling it, and it is what they're calling it in this bill. Is like it's just so much extra fat that doesn't need to be there that we end up as the people shouldering. And not only that, if you're giving them out to these people who shouldn't have the drugs in the beginning, you're creating a dependency for these people to come back and continue to do it and continue to drive sales and to continue to reach out for that. And then it just like keeps them
it's
keeps
just
them
a reflection.
small.
I like what you said though earlier. It's a reflection of not only this is just one industry and one avenue that of a larger systemic trend and problem that we've seen throughout our country.
Yeah, it is totally. And it's like, if somebody wants to stand up and complain, that's totally fine, but it doesn't make them better. It's like a screaming child. If you continue to let them pitch fits, they'll just keep pitching fits because that gets them the thing they want.
The person that made them upset wrong either.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't at all. Yeah, for real.
Right.
Yeah. Is the parent bad in every situation that their kid is pitching a fit? No. They may be doing zero things wrong. You try to control a child. You can't.
Yeah. And even if you tell the kid in a nice way, or you tell the Karen in a nice way, but you tell them what they don't want to hear, you should not be afraid of repercussions of doing what's right.
Exactly. But we've been driven by here's really the problem. Our society, even our government, we are all dictated by pencil pushers that just want to see the numbers good. And they want to see them good in the reviews. They want to see the good numbers in the profits. The profits always must go up. Like, I totally think that people should make money if they do a good job. And I think they should make a lot of money if they do a really good job. And they should make a lot of money if they create a lot of good jobs for people that are good paying jobs for people.
Mm-hmm.
But when you continually have to go up and you're driven by those numbers and constant greed and power,
right,
and with no regulation, so there needs to be seatbelts on that, and or else you end up with situations where we continually want to lock down and say it's okay while Amazon has record years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's wild.
Like, and the small businesses are suffering, and we have this pork fat that's going to pay for carp in some other area, or like that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. If you sit back and look at it, it makes zero sense. And people could cry pandemic all they want. What was the peer-reviewed study that came out this week that said asymptomatic people have not been proven to spread anything to anybody. So if you're not showing any symptoms, so it's like it's essentially what we said all along. It's like stay home if you feel sick, and don't go out. If you can help it. There's a lot of ways you can get things to your house, and if you're healthy, go back to work.
Well, and to the same point, like we talked about last week, that Josh made a really good point on. If you're not sick,
can't see
I know I'm getting. I'll tell you something.
Okay.
If you're not sick though, that's where people need to. Or if you are sick, people need to have the protections of their companies not being able to fire them. But David Patty was just like Deep Space Nine. He called it. David Patty,
nice.
good job, bro.
Behind.
Good job, man.
You're not behind, man. You're just where you need to be.
You're right on the right spot, man. Yeah. But protections for individuals that are sick, I think, is a good thing, too, because that is something
When did Jeremy comment that he signed it?
He was talking about Trump signing the bill.
Oh.
Yeah.
But he heard what we talked about.
Yeah.
He did sign it, but he has a big red pencil, which is kind of crazy.
So, guys, I want to throw out there also something a little crazy here. Something they'll be looking for. I don't know if it'll be specifically on testing normal or not, maybe.
But Mr. Jordan is going to be in Washington, D.C. on January 6th.
Yeah.
On January 6th.
Did you just count quietly?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. January 6th.
I just doing the calculations over here.
I carried the 2. He's going to be there on January 6th, and he's going to be making commentary while there. I assume there's a rally taking place.
There is a giant rally taking place.
Right.
I don't know what it's going to look like. Here's what I thought.
And will you be actually interviewing Alex Jones?
No.
Maybe.
Potentially Trump, too.
Let's leave it up in the air.
Actually, Kamala Harris. Maybe I'll get her on.
Okay. No, but Jordan's going to be in Washington, D.C., and what's taking place on January 6th is the Senate
The electoral vote
and
count.
the House will be essentially not necessarily voting, but kind of, I guess, voting on that day.
They meet to count the votes
to count
and tally
the
them.
electoral votes to then qualify whether the election was valid and whether they agree with the electoral votes.
Well, I mean, specifically, they meet to tally to see the actual official winner who will be sworn in on the 20th.
Right.
But because of everything that's been going on, there's some things that could happen. And
happen.
It could happen, allegedly.
Might
You know,
not.
for YouTube,
But
we have to say the following. We have to say that that the safe harbor date passed, and that the elections were cast valid in their states, and that it has been presumed that when they count them on the 6th, that Joseph Biden will become the next president of the United States. But
We'll see.
There are some things that could happen.
It could, but it might not.
And
let's see what happens.
Really.
And what could prevent that from taking place?
So there's a couple things that are real succinct, because I know we've talked about this a lot, and
yeah, succinct.
some people want to hear about it, some people don't. That's cool. I as a caveat to begin with, before I say anything, I will say I just want the truth. I want the truth. I don't want fraud. If there is fraud, I want it to be found. If there is no fraud, I want that to be found too. If Joseph Biden wins completely without, with no contest and everything, and it's found to be that all that's just fake and it was just made up, cool. That's fine. That's our process. But I've seen a lot of the evidence. I've looked at it for myself. And so what could happen on the 6th is that Vice President Pence, in his plenary power, which is the constitutional power for that day, will be the president of the Senate, and it is his job, and his job alone, to open up the electoral votes from the different states and choose to count them. So there's a couple things that could happen. Number one, he has the plenary power to...
Can he choose which ones to count and which ones not to count?
So he couldn't just say, Colorado, I don't want to count it. There's no contests there. So he couldn't just say, I don't want to count Colorado because I don't like the name.
Right.
But if he gets to Arizona and he says, Arizona sends no electors because they have found to have fraud, and they have found to not follow their constitution, and they have created...
Even if they do send electors,
they already
he
did.
could choose to not
so
accept them.
The 7 states that are in question all sent dueling electors. One of those is certified.
Dueling banjos.
Kind of.
Okay.
So one of those is certified, and those are the Joe Biden votes are certified by their governor, which is fine. That's what they sent. But they're all still in litigation as well. And when people say oh, but they were all thrown out. They weren't. Trump didn't have 1,000 or even 60 cases. They were all thrown out based on standing, not merit. So no one's looked at the evidence. There's all the things you could go back and listen to other episodes to hear some of the evidence. And there's a ton out there if you want to go here'stheevidence.com. There's all of it's just captured in one spot. You can look at it for yourself. Nobody tells you what it means. You just look at it. That's fine. So he could say Arizona has fraud, Nevada has fraud, Georgia has fraud, and give all the reasons why they broke their own constitutional laws. In most of those states, they did constitutionally break their rules, whether or not you agree with it. The election boards made changes to election laws without going through their legislature. That breaks the Constitution right off the bat. And so he could, just based on that, with his plenary power given by the Constitution, decide to hold them aside. Now, people can object to that. And it's to be decided as to how that will work, or if Mike Pence will choose to do that. It kind of looks like he's going to do that. It also looks like, at the same time, even if he doesn't do that, that if there's just one senator and one House member that object to any of those slates of electors, then they go into a debate, and we see what happens.
And to be fair, also, it has been stated on separate articles that Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, the Senate majority leader, has stated clearly he advised strongly against the senators from the Republican Party to oppose it. And he is I don't know if you call it the whip. Is it the whip? Is that synonymous?
He's
the head of
the
party,
GOP.
which I don't know if that's the whip or not, but he's the head of
it.
I only know that word.
Or the nene.
I only know that word, from a game of House of Cards.
Ah, yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, so potentially these electoral votes.
He can't stop them.
No, he can't stop them, but he's basically, hey, I'm your leader. You should follow what I'm saying.
And here's the
who
deal.
knows if that's
There's
right.
already 7 that have signed on and said it doesn't matter what Mitch says, we're going to.
Well,
and there's
have they specifically said they're going to? I've seen them say that they haven't decided what they're going to do.
So there's at least 3 that have said for sure we're going to. I think it's 3. And then it's being reported that there's 7 that are withholding their names of who they are, but they plan to. They just don't want to be bugged right now about it. And so, but there only needs to be 1 Senate member and 1 House member to object to the slate of electors to go into overtime. And essentially they begin a debate. The House and the Senate split up and they decide, do we count these? Do we not? They have hours and hours and hours of debates that could go days. It could go weeks long. If we get to the 18th, it becomes a contingent election and you vote by state delegates and the senators vote in the vice president. The House votes in the president. Given the delegates, probably would be Trump again. We don't know. Anything could happen. It could even go beyond that, and we could go beyond the 20th and still not know who our president will be.
Right. That's kind of.
But also, Pence could count them all on the 6th.
So there's a lot of variables.
Biden becomes president.
Like Jordan was saying, the crazy thing is that in this current situation, it's crazy how
I like that you're so determined to get that off.
There is so much potential for the upset. Even still, there's a potential for the upset of one way or the other, whether Trump is elected or whether Biden is elected. There's a significant upset either way.
Yeah,
which is pretty wild to have that much of an upset this long after the elections took place.
Yeah, and people would say like, well, I watched the news and they say that Biden's going to be there, Trump's just crying, and that's great. It's fine if CNN. Here's the thing. I've said this thing the whole time. I wish CNN would just say this could happen. There's just to like calm people down a little bit if it does happen. Because even if you want to like sit there and think how likely is this or what?
They've posted articles. I haven't seen news, but I've read articles.
I've read their articles and they're like, this isn't going to happen. This isn't like it's just like
tonight they posted one.
Oh, that's good.
More towards like this could happen.
Good. I'm glad that they did because there's a few things that I've thought about in this last week that I'm like, one of these alone would mean nothing. Okay. So one of these things that I'm going to throw out would mean 0. But together they all make me go, what? Something's weird. So December 17th, everything stopped in the intelligence agencies. They stopped doing the transitioning and giving the briefings to Biden. They were told to stop.
Because they were giving them to
him? They
Okay.
were moving that direction. There's a transition team. And they said I think that the mainstream media, I never saw anything from those agencies saying this, but the mainstream media said it's for the holidays. But that just doesn't happen. No, but that doesn't happen in government. They maybe take the morning of Christmas off and then they come back. Like it's like the military. Like they've got a job. They work overtime to make this happen. They're not gonna slow walk it on purpose. So, especially for the holidays, especially for weeks, like that just doesn't happen. That's weird. That in and of itself is
right. Next,
is just strange.
We get it.
So the next thing is all of DC is boarding up their windows.
Well, and that makes sense.
It only makes sense because no one from Trump's side has ever busted anything.
But I think that makes sense in the respect of, well, no, they have.
Who?
I mean, not necessarily Trump. But
I'm saying like
the opposing extremists.
So the protesters for Trump, except for the first time I saw it was somebody who said they were for Trump, wanted to break into the Capitol and broke the door on the front of the Oregon Capitol, which is stupid. He shouldn't have done that.
Stupid.
It wasn't. There wasn't a time or a place for that. That's dumb.
But I mean,
I'm saying
so much contention right now.
I'm saying that the protests that usually come out of Trump supporters, and I'll go there when I go there on the 6th and be able to tell for myself with my own eyes, are these people destroying property or are they not? Because I know what happens on the other side, and I'm not saying it's even Biden supporters. It's just a couple of groups that say they're for that side,
right?
That do that.
Both sides.
Those sides, if Trump wins, is when you'd need your windows boarded up. If Trump loses, you don't necessarily need your windows boarded up.
That's a good point. Well, I think either side, if either side
I don't think they're not
loses,
going to go hurt businesses. That's the thing, is that most people who are on the conservative side are like, why would I hurt a business?
But it's cheaper to put a board up in front of your window than to have it potentially
Plywood's expensive
glass
right now,
broken. Plywood is stupid expensive
So-
though right now.
And then the other thing that's weird is that Biden has said this whole time, I'm going to have a virtual inauguration. I'm not knocking that. Whatever. The dude can do what he wants. Like,
Yeah.
that's totally fine. But right now in D.C., they're setting up Trump's inauguration stage.
So Trump thinks he's going to win.
But the transition teams that do that, like, it's not his call to say set that up. Like, they're
But maybe
setting
it
up.
is.
The
He
other
could.
thing that's weird is right before Christmas, Trump's team or his office or whoever runs his show, essentially the people who are employed in his office and the numerous amounts of people that do that, got an email that said, pack up your stuff, get ready to transition out of here.
Wait, who's did?
Trump's current sitting office
Okay.
got that email, but the next day they got an email that said, scratch that, don't pack.
Who was the email from?
It was whoever the transitions teams are.
Huh.
So like there's a you know the lady that signed the thing that she had held off forever and then gave the money to said, okay, fine, we're freeing up some funds.
Right.
You can have your office space
Right.
and everything.
Yeah.
Number one, Biden hasn't taken that money. He set it back.
Oh,
Didn't take it. And so all those things together.
Yeah, that's a combination of
it's like-
peculiar
it's
situations.
just like it's things that make you go,
Okay, here's another curveball. What if Biden does get the elections or electoral votes
Yeah.
in his name? But what if he has a big curveball that he's throwing? What if he's
Like
like,
what?
I'm not going to actually set up house in the White House. We're actually going to do a transition in my estate in Connecticut or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of curveballs that could
I
take
have
place
no
too.
idea. If Pence counts all those and there's no objections and
Well,
Biden wins. Like it's just that's the way it goes. I don't think that's going to
here's a
happen,
question.
especially
Can
considering.
Pence make an objection?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. He can just say I'm not accepting this electoral slate
Right.
and set it to the side,
So Pence alone.
and that's been done before by vice presidents who are in the acting spot of president of the Senate.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. That was done with I think it was Kennedy. It wasn't necessarily a deciding factor, but nobody objected to it. There was 2 slates of electors, and he picked the ones for him. The end.
Mm. So, needless to say,
It's a weird process, and here's the thing: It's
January 6th is a starting ground
Yeah.
for peculiar.
yeah, Trump
crazy
has
times.
said like there's going to be something big. There's going to be information coming out.
Wasn't there also something?
I've heard through the grapevine that like tomorrow is going to be a day where a lot of information comes out.
But
So we'll see.
throughout this time, we've been talking about elections and upsets.
It feels
and
like
all this
forever,
different time.
doesn't it?
It feels like forever.
Yeah.
I
I find it interesting.
December
I don't know, just like
18th. Wasn't there something that was supposed to happen December 18th, and we were like, okay.
So
But
December.
then,
So
did anything actually come of
that's
that?
the thing. So December 18th was the 45th day after the election.
Right. So what came
And
of
that's when Trump's executive order demanded that a report be given from the intelligence agencies on foreign interactions with the elections. That was delayed, although he was still given a briefing, but we don't know what he was told.
that? Okay, so it wasn't necessarily information that was going to go public on December 18th.
No. He could choose to, and he could choose not to. So he may be sitting on all the evidence he needs, or what they're calling the Moab, the mother of all bombs. And if that happens, because remember also this last week, he also made it so that classified information could be used in front of grand juries, which means that if they start to debate election fraud for those slates, they become a jury, and they could bring out classified information that's being collected this whole time and show it to the House and the Senate and say, here's the fraud. Here it is. You can't deny it anymore. Here's the evidence. No court would see it. No court gave us standing, but here's the evidence, and we have it from our intelligence agency. Here's the report right now. Here's the video. Here's the data. Here's the information. They could do that. We don't know. That's the thing. And the only 2 people that probably know in this world right now are Trump and Pence. Because why would you make that loud yet? It would cause like an uproar
But I think
before it needs to happen.
But that's the thing. At any point, it would cause an uproar.
It would, but you wouldn't. You'd want that uproar to start when that process is actually. The 6th is an actual date that something happens. That's when the data would need to come out to the correct people at the right time. It's like if you arrest someone for murder, you don't give them all of your evidence up front. You wait till you get to trial. And that's essentially a trial. When you start objecting to things, you're now on trial. The election is on trial. And Pence has the plenary power that day to say, we didn't even have an election because you guys broke so many laws.
Are these all televised?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I hope.
That would be very interesting if it's televised.
I hope. If they pulled out classified information, they would cut it. They would have to.
Wild.
Anyway.
Well,
yeah, I don't. It's going to be like, to me, it's like, I know that some people are like, why do you keep talking about this? I'm like, I'm interested. This is our world, guys. This is what this matters for my kids. This matters for my grandkids. This matters for.
Well, it's a historical.
The state
it's
of
a historical moment.
It matters for the state of our elections. If there is fraud, that's a huge deal. Because if we don't have free and fair elections, what are we?
Well, and it's historical on many levels, but
it's wild.
The potential amount of things that could happen January 6th.
It's nuts.
And
that's the thing.
Larger than normal.
Is that people will say like, oh, but we don't ever do this. I'm like, yeah, we don't ever want to get to this. This isn't the point. The point of the Constitution is to protect us if this ever happens. That's why it's been 140 some odd years since we've had something like this happen.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But it's good that it's there for us to fall on. And if Trump's wrong, Trump's wrong. If Biden was rightfully elected, that's fine. Just look at the proof and see.
Look at the pudding. Let's see. Let's look at the pudding.
Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of pissed off people either way.
Yep. Right. Dude,
You ready?
I got some good TILs.
I have one.
Okay.
So you go first.
I'll go first. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Today I learned, and I say this TIL because I watch this show literally almost every night as a palate cleanser before bed. Today I learned Frank Sinatra died on the night of Seinfeld's finale, and his ambulance made it to the hospital in record time because traffic was so light due to everyone watching the show that night.
What?
I thought that's awesome. That's like, I can't remember how many it was, but it was,
1 billion.
No, I think it was like close to 100 million people or something like that. It was like a third of the country was watching it that night. Yeah.
We don't have shows like that anymore. We don't have shows that come on at a time like that anymore.
I mean, and not that many people actively watch live television.
That's what I mean.
Right.
Like we don't have things don't happen
Olympics.
like that.
Olympics are kind of the only thing where people
but
tune
even
in.
then they don't show the cool things that I want to see.
UFC is the only live event.
That's
and
true.
I guess basketball and football.
Boxing,
yeah, that's true. But
sports, but not TV shows.
Not TV shows. Episodes like that. Right.
Yeah.
All right, what's your TIL?
My TIL is this. Today I learned that Macy's department store declined to be featured. This is good because this is seasonal.
Okay.
Declined to be featured in the movie Elf because they didn't like the idea that there was a fake Santa working there and felt it would blow the illusion for kids.
Wow, they made a mistake there.
I know.
That was a big mistake, Macy's.
Stupid.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's like.
Well, and that's why they're going tanking right now.
That's like Xerox giving up the patent for Ethernet. Like, we'll never use that.
Did they really?
Yeah. I think it was them.
Gosh. Whoa, that's terrible.
I think they also had the graphical user interface for computers.
What?
And the mouse.
What?
They had a bunch of different things.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Today I learned why Five Guys gives extra fries at the bottom of the bag.
Ooh, this is a good one.
They do it so guests think they are getting a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
However, the extra fries are already factored into the menu price. The founder, Jerry Murrell, also says it's better for customers to feel that they were served extra fries and it was extra free of charge.
They also only buy potatoes above the 45th parallel.
Oh, it's a
because
little
of the crunchy taste.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like the texture and where they're grown. It's because
what is the 45th parallel? Where's that?
Well, if we have one here outside Salem, it's the halfway between the equator and the North Pole.
I would think it'd be far more south of Salem.
No, it's just right to the north of Salem, like right as you in between Salem and Kaiser. There's a sign that says the 45th parallel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, first shower thought. How many you got? I got 4.
More than that.
All right, you go first.
Depression seems so prevalent that we could argue the ones without it are the ones that we need to be studying.
Yeah. I like that. The fatter you get, the more skinny jeans you own.
Ooh. Or fat. Wait, no. Yeah, you're right. Wikipedia is our best attempt at a history of everything and one of the mankind's greatest achievements. But we talk about it. We talk about it mostly as a joke.
Right. But it's phenomenal.
For the most part,
For
there
the
are
most
some.
part.
There are some that are locked up. Like going back to this election thing,
Uh-huh.
Rudy Giuliani's is locked, and it has some information in there that's not correct about.
Oh,
him.
really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Like some disinformation.
Wikipedia locked it
Mm-hmm.
with disinformation in there.
Yes.
Well, that's not.
Well,
cool.
they think it's right because it fits the mainstream media, but it actually isn't right. He's commented on it before. He's like, "That's not true."
Oh, that's wild. I just wanted to go back to my first shower thought, though, real quick. How I said the fatter you get, the more skinny jeans you own. Also, the inverse of that is the skinnier you get, the more Lee pipes you own. Do you remember Lee pipes?
No.
Levi pipes? The super baggy jeans?
Oh yes.
Yes. Dude, those were so cool. I got a pair. This is, okay, I was super poor growing up, right? And I really wanted a pair of Levi pipes. And I remember my first pair of Levi pipes I got were a hand-me-down from Kyle Olson.
Oh,
That he got it. But dude, I wore those suckers with pride, man. I was so proud of those Lee pipes, dude. I was
Oh,
sporting those
Kyle.
suckers left and right, man.
Good
So
for you,
Kyle,
Kyle.
thanks, man. You made me feel super cool with my Lee pipes.
Oof.
All right, my next shower thought. It's weird how birds learn to speak human before we learn to speak bird.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Unless the sounds
Birds
are
have
making
learned.
just don't mean anything.
Yeah, but I think they do.
Do you?
I think they do. Like whales have meaning in their sound.
We think.
Like there's lots of animals that have meaning, I think, to what their noises are, but we haven't figured
like
out.
a language though, or are they just like an emotion?
No, I think. Well, I guess there's a degree of
Because I mean, like,
intertwining there. I don't know the specificity of a language of an animal, right? But I
well,
mean,
there was that Star Trek episode where they only spoke in like
yeah,
history.
that was no.
Was it Picard?
They only spoke in
With Picard.
some type of emotion. Yeah,
It was like
that was a good episode.
at a whale sniff or something.
That was
like
a good.
and he only
episode.
spoke in an like
And you would offend them if you
Analogies.
spoke wrong. Yeah, it was like analogies
and-
or
yeah,
something
because
like
it was a really big deal when he created a new language with him and Picard coming together.
that. Yeah, it was a good show.
Are you
Good episode. I'm
is
proud
that-
of you
was
remembering that.
Were you
one.
like super excited that
I got pretty excited. All right, hit me.
Okay. 11 people were born in Antarctica. It must be a real pain in the ass for them to fill out their place of birth on an online form.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because
for
I
sure.
bet it's not on
It's
there.
never there. Also, what type of wild parents are having their kids in Antarctica?
I'll tell you who. People that got locked up in there were super bored for a year.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's good. Science. So basically, it's all scientists having babies.
They're the smartest people in the world. They actually they like born mathematicians.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is actually, I think, a pretty clever shower thought. At any point in life, a person's nostril size is directly proportional to the circumference of their finger. It's like we are supposed to pick our noses.
Seriously.
Like a baby, like I was thinking about this, my little 17-month-old, she is frequently picking her nose, and her baby finger is just the perfect size for her nostril.
It's true.
And my finger could not fit up her nostril, right?
I hope you haven't tried that.
But my finger fits perfectly in my nostril. Yeah, it's a cool correlation.
It's like Minecraft. Eventually, what most people want for Christmas is an app.
Yeah. Really true. Really true. Okay, my last one.
Okay.
If laundry baskets were the same size or the same shape, volume as a washing machine drums were, it'd be easier to see when there was the right amount of clothes to wash.
That would be dependent on, because they're all different sizes.
Right.
So
But
you'd
if
have
there
to
was
like,
a general size.
yeah, you'd have to have like a extra load, or this one's for a Kenmore.
Right. Maytag.
Yeah.
Maytag laundry hamper.
Yeah, this one comes with a warranty for how many clothes fit in it. So you know what people will be doing? Same thing they do with their garbage can. I do this, stomping it down. They're like, well, if it'll fit in here, then it'll fit. In the
I mean, I do
washing
that right
machine."
now anyways.
And you just like
Yeah.
slam down on it and pack the clothes in.
compact.
Okay, I got one more. I'm gonna pick one more. Lottery tickets come with a You lose or your money back guarantee.
Very true. I like that little twist. It's like a little lemon lime twist on my head. All right.
Wait, what?
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to Testing Normal. We appreciate y'all. Hopefully you had a good holiday, a festive Christmas. Have a safe New Year's
Festivus
Eve.
for the rest of us.
Festivus for the
We'll
rest of
see
us.
you in 2021.
We'll see you in 2021.
One more
which is
episode
wild
before
to
I
think
go.
2021.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say about DC.
So crazy.
Is if
So
there's
crazy.
if there's enough network coverage and you're free, we might do a live stream side by side because you can
Yeah,
do it
that might be
because I can do it from my phone.
that might be pretty cool.
and then you can like ask me questions
Yeah.
and I can like punch someone.
Well,
and
I
you
wanted
can
to
see me
talk
get
to you about
attacked.
the way we watched those live streams of at the Capitol.
Yeah.
And there was a guy sitting, and then the other guy was walking around with camera.
Yeah.
That was something I wanted to talk to you about. So we might have some ideas we'll bring to you,
Oh,
guys.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on coverage there. If there really ends up being as many people as last time, I may not have cell service to do that.
Maybe.
So
Maybe.
we'll see.
All right,
We
guys.
shall
Well,
see.
we appreciate you all, and to all a good night.
Yeah.
Go to
Uh,
bed with no fright.
Merry 2020. Hopefully 2021 comes with more open businesses, less face
And
masks, and
Exciting times
less
for
hospitals full.
everyone. Yay!
Hey, see you guys.